All right, we'll try to bring this meeting to order here. So, welcome everybody to today's meeting. Board, you've had a chance to look at the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You've also had a chance to look at the minutes from last month. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Dr. Freeman.
Board members, a great opportunity tonight to recognize one of our very best. We have a lot of those really great students, but sometimes it's good to think about students and how they represent themselves, their family, their school in different ways that just aren't planned, but they just sort of happen. And many of us were in attendance Saturday, August 5th, when our girls were playing in finals basketball. It's a great and a beautiful weekend for us, except for not playing, but we had such a great presence of community there Thursday, Saturday, so many so that I think we dwarfed our opponents, which is great. So, of course, we had an unfortunate incident that took place, not of our own making, but it was at times a bit chaotic in Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center for just reasons people were just fearful. And so I just want to tell you, my recollection of the events may be different, others depending on where you were sitting, but I moved across the court and moved into where the students were. And what I saw was a lot of our administrators doing what they do, being present, being calm, taking care of our kids. That's what we asked them to do. We had teachers that were stepping in. I had teachers from other schools, elementary teachers just coming up and saying, what can I do? Just being available for our kids. And in the midst of all this, we didn't have necessarily all the direction of what we needed to do with our children, but they remained very calm. But as I approached that area, what I saw taking place was a lot of our kids jumping over the guardrail. I say jumping a little loosely, they were climbing over the guardrail because they couldn't get down. Mr. Mann was there, Dr. Martin, Mr. Roselle, a lot of the team was all over the place. But right in the middle of those was one of our student leaders, Hope Smith. And I think when I first got here, shortly after Coach Anderson retired, he talked to me about leadership and he talked about hope. And then Coach Calhoun, when he came in, it wasn't very long after Coach Calhoun came in that he talked to me about leadership and he talked about hope. And so I've not yet heard from Coach Evans. Of course, he won't have the privilege of getting coaching, but I expect he would say the same thing. All of our athletic people feel that about him. But what I saw that night was a leader. And guys, I want to tell you, he was helping our young ladies very respectfully, picking them up, get them over that fence and putting them down. And then, he did that. I was watching all that take place. And then we moved to the back where all of our students were kind of just being held. And Hope was right there in the middle. And so I really didn't say anything. I looked at Hope and I said, we're okay to go back in. Because I knew he would probably tell them and they would believe him and trust him. And he did. They all kind of followed you back in. And we were okay. So I just want to recognize what I think is a incredible act of leadership, service, sacrifices, doing what had to be done to help his teammates, his classmates. He excels on the field. He excels in the classroom. He's been accepted by the Naval Academy, starts in July, it tells me, in the Naval Academy. If that doesn't speak enough, it's just watching him act. And so I just think tonight is a really good time to talk about student leadership. We talk about it a lot. Here it is in action. So I want to recognize Hope and ask him to come on up. Come on, Hope. Not done. So any words, anybody want to offer? Tanya, see you want to speak?
Well, okay, I just have to say, Hope, who was your principal in the 6th grade? That's right. So, it's just absolutely, the senior class, we've been on a journey together since the 6th grade. And it just does my heart good when I know what your next level is going to be, but watching you in the classroom, in the hallways, and also athletically, that brings a certain sense of pride for me too. But I'm just proud of you. You've definitely made an impact everywhere you've been, and we can't wait to see what you do next. Anyway, you're gonna be missed.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mom, Dad, y'all here tonight, anything you want to say while you can get to embarrass him real good? Yeah, hey, this is a student athlete leader. Now, this is what we want. We're focusing on athletics tonight, and it's really what we want walking out of our doors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris.
My friend, I want to add to that a little bit, in hopes, a huge reason that this occurred, but also is because the administration that was there, many people in this room that were there, but it's the protocols that have been put in place in our schools prior to something like that happening. My eighth grader was there. There's a bunch of eighth graders, Jennifer's eighth grader, and Jacqueline's eighth grader. They were there, and what I noticed when it first started happening was that those students, based on the training they've received here, they didn't panic. They just acted calm, and they all got under their seats. Whereas other people were going every which way. They just stayed put, and then they waited for leaders like Hope to take charge and everything else. But I just want to say that that's a credit to everything that y'all put in place, the training that's going to our schools and everything else, how our students reacted. It is a credit to everyone in this room. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And Hope, since you're a senior, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank y'all very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Item 5 is our financial statements. Ms. Brown.
Good afternoon, board members. I have provided the February 2022 financial statements and check register for your review. As of February 2022, we have collected 89% of our budgeted ad valorem tax revenues compared to the 73% that we have received this time last year. Most of this large increase from prior year is due to the timing of differences of when we received the payments from this year to last year. But as of today, our collections are still 1.2 million above where we were at this time last year. So I think our budget amendment is gonna work out well, the additional million that we added. And as of February 28th, our total expenditures in the general fund were 43.5% of the budget compared to 43.9% last year. All things being equal, we should be at or below 41% of our budgeted expenditures in the 5th month of our fiscal year. So 43.5% is good considering we have paid some large annual expenditures. Monthly financial statements and check registers are available for viewing on the board website after they are approved, and all board bank accounts have been reconciled as of February 28th, 2022.
Board members, I recommend that you approve the financial statement for February 2022.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the financial statements for February 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Court.
Item 6, I recommend the board approve consent items related to disposal of property, which is from the high school, retired library books, source readers, exam manuals, surplus of novels, and out-of-state overnight field trip, high school volleyball team going to Panama City, Florida.
Another one of those good trips right there, too. All right, board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of consent items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Item A is under business, and it's regarding English language arts textbooks. And I want to comment that most years we're asked to bring to you a recommendation about textbooks that will be approved. This one is no different. It's in English and language arts, and you have 2 attachments. One is for K-5, one is through 6-12. We have the ones that the committee that was put together has chosen. I think they're in this room. You can see them if you want to look at them. Anybody can view them that would like to. The public can come up here and take a look at any of those materials. But we're bringing to you tonight those 2 recommendations. So I recommend the board approve the English language arts textbooks.
Board, you heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the English language arts textbooks. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Just with regard to I know we talked about the disposal of the books under the last action item. But the novels in those books are not just going to be disposed. Those are being provided to a charity, right?
There are a number of those we are. Tanya can speak to that, I think.
I believe, I think I found out that 4,500 books were being donated. One of our club, I think We the People, am I saying that right?
You are.
We the People, they,
Club, sorry.
We Service, sorry, took it upon themselves. They got in touch with the University of Alabama and partnered with them as to some outer-lying communities that really struggle with resources. And they found a great way to kind of repurpose all these books and some of these novels and things. And so they're going to a good home.
Yeah, good question.
Good, quick question. Seniors, do they still do along with prayer with the sure day and all that good stuff?
In the language arts.
In language
That is
Who can still say it? Oh, you're talking about the
that's.
Can you still say
yes,
it, Trevor?
Canterbury Tales.
Me?
Yes. Did you have to remember
I
it?
don't even remember how to tie my shoes in the morning. But I thought I did well for that. I'm coming up on 40.
25 years ago, I can still say
40.
the prologue in
Yeah.
Middle English.
Yeah, you had to memorize it or you couldn't graduate. I do remember that.
Yes. There's a high demand for that in the workplace these days. That's funny.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I digress.
We've gotten off the rails.
Item B, yeah, this is parent-student handbook, and I recommend the board approve it for the 2022-23 school year.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the new parent-student handbook for 2022-23. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Those changes, of course, you saw highlighted in yellow, but very minor, just tweaks to some of the language, but that'll become available pretty soon as we're doing registration. All right, item C, I'd like to read what I think is appropriate to read at this time before I give you this recommendation, and it is to what we discussed earlier about the events of Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center. It's a card I received today. I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize and commend Assistant Principal Bill Mann for his courage, valor, and quick response during finals for basketball at the BJCC. I witnessed him respond in a manner exemplary of great leaders. Student safety and well-being were always priorities. Please share our gratitude from the Alabama State Department of Education. Gratefully, Terry Roller, Assistant State Superintendent. He's also a parent. Yeah, so good, Bill. On that note, I'd like to recommend the board approve the principal's contract for Vestavia Hills High School freshman campus.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the freshman campus principal's contract. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Bill, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much.
Is there an S under that?
Only comes out on special occasions.
All right. Item D, I recommend the board approve Dr. Blair and Abbott's principal contract.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the principal's contract for Dr. Blair and Abbott. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. Item E, I recommend the board approve Roger Donnacar's principal contract.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of Dr. Roger Dalnicar's contract for principal. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right, board members. Item F is related to an energy audit. Before I bring the recommendation to you, we have been partnering with Schneider Electric for the last couple of years, and last year entered into a contract with them on a portion of the first phase of work that was audited. And I'd like for you guys to talk a little bit about that. Kyle, Todd, if you'd like to just give some board just a brief overview of what phase one looks like and what this next round of an audit is. This is not a contract, by the way, it's just that we're going to start the process. So walk us through that.
Sure. So you guys remember we developed kind of a district-wide program, and then we siphoned off the first phase, which was going to revolve around Vestavia Hills High School. So we were able to do the lighting, the LED upgrade lighting, which you guys may have noticed if you've been over at the high school. We're just getting final.
like this.
Yeah, and it'll be very much like this. But we're getting final approvals from the DCM, Department of Construction Management, on all the work on the lighting. So that has all gone very, very well. And then we have equipment dropping for the summer replacement of the central plant on the roof, which is going to be quite a project. So that involves removing your existing chiller boiler system out of there. It's very, very small, tight spaces, so we're going to be cutting it up in pieces and bringing it out via crane. And then we'll actually be bringing in the new systems and building it in place because you've got some tight structural steel supports there. Once all that is replaced, we'll get the piping and pumping and everything going, and then we'll be automating the system to make it more efficient. Coinciding with that, we'll also have a replacement of the East Elementary School roof, a portion of that was approved in this first phase. And so we have the remainder of the work out there, that we've designed and we're ready to go once we have funding sources identified and can move forward with that. But as you guys, continue to move along as a school system, you have other pieces of infrastructure that are continuing to age. And so we like to put out kind of timeframes of what are you going to look at, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and have a plan in place to replace those pieces of infrastructure. And so this next analysis is to help you not only bring that second phase to fruition, but also take a look at that 5-10 year window so you guys will be able to plan accordingly with your capital budgets, so we can tackle those items when they get to the end of their useful life. So that's what we're looking at. Did I miss anything?
No, that was good. I think the biggest thing right now is our team's totally focused 12 to 24 months down the road with the way the market and supply chain is right now. We're already planning around what Christmas break, next summer, even the summer after that looks like. So we wanted to get a jump start on it now so that we can go ahead and look a couple summers in advance for projects that have to take place around those breaks. All the other work, we're going to try to plan around night times, weekends to be as minimally invasive as possible around school. So we just want to get a jump on it. And hopefully we'll have the design portion of this phase finished up towards the end of this year so that we can start looking into next year and next summer and what work can take place.
Yeah, the good part of this work, board members, is that we can prepare all the way up to the point of executing a contract to get the work done. And when funding becomes available, we're positioned to do that in our capital plan that we won't be ready together. So I would recommend the board approve the agreement for this energy audit.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the agreement for the energy audit. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Quick question, if you don't mind. The mechanical room that you're talking about, that's not a quick thing.
No, it'll take from the day you get out till the day you get back.
Okay, how does that coincide with classes during the
Yeah.
summer and?
So the good news is that central system, I believe, serves about 60% of the high school, maybe 65%. So you're going to have part of the school that's going to be able to remain air conditioned and heated. And so we're just going to work on coordinating when certain parts of the school are down to make sure we can still have the appropriate classes and events that are there.
And this is the old mechanical room that's upstairs.
On the roof, correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Dress cool this summer.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, item 8, I recommend the board approve the following personnel actions that are submitted.
Board, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for approval of personnel actions. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Board members, tonight I'd like to bring to you a report on athletics. We, in the fall, as you remember, heard a report from our partners who worked with us in putting together the athletic strategic plan. It's an exciting time, felt like, as well as onboarding our new athletic director, Myra Miles. She and Principal Tanya Roselle here tonight to give you an update on pieces of this strategic plan. So your document that you have really ties itself to the strategic plan that we have. And I wanted you to just get a glimpse of what all taking place. Okay.
Sorry. He's good for so many things. Well, hello. It's good to see you all. I really feel like this journey began a while back, like easily 4 years ago. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. And so hopefully we can answer questions, give you an overview of where we are at this phase. I believe that each of you have copies of the work that came out of that 2-year process with the strategic plan, emphasis areas and things like that. So some of that will be referenced in here. So let's get going. So what I tried to do is at the top of some of these slides, I tried to connect the emphasis area that came out of that really, really good work, but also to keep it in the framework of our district vision, our mission, our goals that have been in place for a while. So for strength and conditioning, that is a class we've always had. It was in the form of an elective, a couple periods a day because students needed electives, and we had a lot of students who did not participate in athletics, but they wanted to work out. And they wanted to learn about core and they wanted about core conditioning. They wanted to learn about nutrition and how that partnered. So it's been an elective in our course offerings for, I don't know how many years, but prior to me, I think several principals ago. But then this school year, we have 3 periods a day where we have strength and conditioning. First period, second period, fifth period, and then, of course, then 8-period athletics. Sometimes it's rotated in depending on whether a sports in season or out season. So next year we're moving that, we're condensing down. Okay, so we're going from 3 periods a day to only 2 periods a day. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I feel like we all both feel like that's gonna be really, really good for our athletes and for our coaches as well. Okay, so let's kind of go, but under this emphasis area, I believe it's one in your report, the academic and athletic excellence, personal development, the well-being of student athletes. So this is what this falls under, okay? I also wanted to connect it to our mission statement, and that is to ensure that each student learns without limits, and there are multiple paths to evolve future. Now, obviously, we understand the high academic excellence, our math team, our debate teams, our Scholars Bowl, our Science Olympiad. We know that. We also can be athletically excellent, and so what this is it's our ability to have some unique scheduling, to offer multiple opportunities for students to excel in that area as well. And so that's what I'm excited about. Also, I wanted to note kind of at the bottom, pre-pandemic, there were lots and lots of conversations going on about how we take our existing facility. It's an old facility. Obviously, I'm getting a whole new, what am I getting, a chiller? I mean, we're going to shut the school down for this, for parts of the wings, and we're going to be, the main office may be working out of H wing, so I'll get a lot of exercise in. But the point is, there were some real logistics that were hindering our ability to kind of expand our programming. And it's because we have an aged building and an aged locker rooms, shower spaces, and things like that. So these conversations began prior pre-pandemic, and so I just wanted you to know that they were discussion points, which we also brought to our athletic strategic plan group, and kind of because these ladies, the different schools and universities and things that they work with, they had worked through some of these things. So some of the things that came out of that work, you're going to see as well. Okay, this is straight out of that little binder that you have, the work we did, but I just underlined 2 key points. I'm not going to read this to you, but straight out of our athletic strategic plan is that this is kind of our vision, to be a premier athletic program in student athletic success. And it's distinguished. Athletic competition is our duty and our job to maximize every student's potential, and an uncompromising commitment to the mission and values of our school district. And so I put 2 bullet points over the side because I thought it was kind of important to pull these out, okay? So the strength and conditioning training for our athletes in the off season is necessary for maximizing potential for in season. And so as we began to do the work of how do we make this happen, I pulled in Dr. England, who I brought with me, and then Christine Rowling, who's our department chair for our counseling. They have been critical key team players as we thought through every option, every obstacle, and how do we go about making this happen. So at any point, they are more than willing to answer a question. But then I also wanted to talk about the why behind this, and that is because our athletic competition in this state and the region that we're in, it demands this. And I want I know what we do in a classroom, I know the training our teachers get, and I want our athletic department to be as fully committed to this process as well. I think we owe it to our athletes, the Hope Smiths, the student leaders, to get them ready for the next level, if that's the path they choose to go on. Okay, so that, I just wanted you to know that this work has been it's been hard, but it's been, I feel like very good. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next year. Okay, this also came out of that binder that you had, 2 key areas as part of the core values, and I highlighted personal development. We will support staff and student athletes providing experiences that enhances their physical and mental wellness. I'll just use this. I mean, anybody will tell you that works out avidly, that what that does to their mindset, to their just their overall ability to do life. And look, I need to get in shape a little better. Might help my stress level, but I'm always interested in, and I love being around these people. They have energy. They talk about, well, I just go to the gym, and that's what it does for me. So I feel like adding that physical and mental wellness is a part of our school day. I feel like our athletes and our students are just going to benefit from this, and so I look forward to seeing in feedback that we get from them how that partners with what the work that they're doing in the school day and outside of school day. Also safety. I feel like this is a key component. We will continually improve and maintain our equipment and our facilities to ensure the safety of student athletes. And I will tell you, that point right there is why we've had to go to different times of the day to ensure the safety of our athletes and who is supervising those athletes. Okay, these are some options that we considered. We talked about before the first bell, okay? We also talked about some schools call it a 0 period, some schools call it an early bird period. Our math team has been doing early bird for many, many years as they prepare for, tournaments and things like that. We consider that and not having it be another period in the school day, but this is what we came up with. Our facility limitations, that did not make it optimal. There was not enough weight room space for both male and female athletes to actually get in there early in the morning to work out at the same time. The other issue that came out of this is that not all of our coaches and teachers, or teachers who also coach, could be there early morning to supervise. And when you've got that many athletes in a room, you have got to have eyes on kids, eyes on equipment, proper technique, because a lot of our coaches, they have families as well. Little peeps, they've got to get to their different, schools and things like that. So that was not optimal. And then obviously, because we talked about the age of our facilities, we had limited showers. Now, I'm not going down this road, but early in the morning, if there's not an ability for the students to shower and get ready for class, that was not going to be a good mix. Not at all. For our teachers, for those, it's none of it. Now, the guys might not have cared, but I know our female athletes would not have wanted to go to the first period or second period of their day having just, worked out. So when we began to make this list, those were the ones that really surfaced as being really problematic with having the early morning, everybody having that time of day. Okay, now feel free to jump in, girls. So for next school year, now we've got it this school year, but not for a lot of sports did not do it this school year. But for next school year, this is what the plan is for now. For first period next year, we will have baseball, basketball, football, and wrestling. We will take advantage of that first period. The benefit is going to be to adequate weight room space, to shower availability, but also we have a lot of students that play more than one sport. This will prevent them from having to undergo a schedule change once that season goes and then the new season comes in. So it's the least disruptive to their academic day. For our female sports, girls basketball, girls soccer, volleyball, and softball, there's going to be adequate weight room space. There is going to be, they will lead straight from strength and conditioning and go straight into their 8th period athletics, so go straight into their sport, limiting the need for showers. And then our multi-sport, same thing. We have girls who do more than one sport, and this is going to prevent a schedule change for them as well. The other thing that I think is really important to note at the bottom is we learned this year, and this worked out to be, for a lot of our students who are very GPA conscious, they know the math. We made it an option. A lot of schools around us, we checked with some districts around us that do the same thing. And so students had the option to opt in or out from having this course count toward their credit or their grade. And that worked out really well. And they're not, you say they're nodding their head. Those were one-on-one parent phone conversations, and it was explained, well, this is the benefit of having this count toward your GPA, and this is what it would be without it. And I'm shaking my head because it really was, they were very good positive conversations, and families appreciated having the option to be in or out. Anything you want to add? Okay.
What about the sports not participating?
Yeah.
Like, what are y'all doing to make sure they're incorporating strength and conditioning into their program?
Very good question. So, for example, you use this today. Cheerleaders are going to, at key times during their cheer period, instead of working on cheer technique or anything like that, they're going to be in the weight room. So it's just a coordination of what day of the week do they want to get in that strength and conditioning, and then what days are going to work on routines and things like that.
Well, and the thing too to keep in mind is this year, I think it was kind of late in the game. I was late in the game getting here as well. When the cheer wanted to have the option of lifting and was approached by them, what happened was there was an overload of everybody in this old way of doing things. So this way, they will come in. I met with actually Coach Brown this past week, and they will have the opportunity to utilize in their cheer period. They want to do it. Even if they do it 2 days a week, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. It's just going to enhance everything about the cheer program.
And then we also offer, for example, and we could pare down into every single sport, but we have a lot of sports that, because of what they do, I call it, I don't know the right wording for it, but they're involved in a lot of other clubs outside of their high school. So they are constantly in that sport year round. So if they're going to work out, a lot of those groups, they prefer to do it on their own time, and their coaches know that. So the coaches are really, they understand their players, they understand their sport, and they also know what their kids are involved in outside of the school sport. I used soccer as one of those. And for example, track and field, which is one of our hugest sports, oh my goodness, they're literally conditioning every day just by the nature of what they do. But we also offer as an elective. We have a strength and conditioning class that's an elective. It's been on the schedule for years. And some of those kids want that, they need an elective, and they prefer to do that. So they're getting it in that way.
And I believe that is going to grow in the next 3 years. I think we're going to end up offering more than just that one period because there's going to be such a demand.
So basically, each coach you can opt in and out each year with what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not just the students participating in these sports or in the class, anyone can participate.
Any student in our school. And that's who's making up these classes now.
We don't have very many that take us up on that, though. I mean, I think I have 8 requests right now that aren't athletes. So, but I think as it grows, and like Myra said, as we get the word out that this is not just, I mean, it's been there, but I think there's just been some confusion about who can and who can't. So just making that clear.
Really being conscious about making a concerted effort to make it, for them to learn more about it, to get the information out there. So I really think in 2 years' time, we're going to max out at it.
Because I go back to our district beliefs. I do believe that for the well-being of the student, that this is going to pick up some momentum. I really do, the overall well-being of the student.
This is main campus, right? We're not talking about our freshman athletes. This is main campus only.
Yes. They have
With the
something.
with the
But they
freshman
will next year.
athletes can take a PE class that is a strength conditioning
Yes,
focused
that's
class.
correct.
They don't have the 2 classes.
No.
But like freshman basketball, they don't take the first period at the campus. They can choose or not.
Right.
Yes.
And they take that as a freshman. That's
And it will count as a PE credit, which is a required graduation, state of Alabama, one of the 24 earned credits. We've been asked a lot about this, as we're tweaking this, we're growing with this, but we also have a willingness to change if something's not working with this. But we've been asked about, what are their assurances if a student just cannot fit this in the schedule? And I believe that's where, Ms. Rowling, she's had, how many students have you met with already?
A couple of hundred.
Yes, they, on these individual courses and their 4-year plan. And I was almost kind of going to challenge. So you want to take this, I'm talking the list. How can we meet all the students' needs, but also give them this as well? And we've been very creative with scheduling, which is where I have a slide that here talks about all the different options that we're able to put in that's come out of these conversations. And she's shaking her head yes, because it's been so productive, and kids are very grateful that they're not having to make choices, because they're masters. They're masters at scheduling, and they're masters at showing students all the various options so they can take all of it. They want CTE classes, if they want the health science, if they want this, if they want to be in the choir. And our teachers are so willing to accommodate. And to me, that's been really, really great to watch. Okay, let's talk about communication moving forward. These are some things that we have in place that we plan to do for next school year. Obviously, course catalog has gone out. We're almost at the end of the process now. So next year, this is what our plans are. We're going to do some middle school communication. We're going to get with the middle school principals. We will do a rising 6th grade parent meeting because, even though 6th graders are not eligible to compete, they need to know what's coming, especially what their dreams and their visions are for much later past middle school. We're going to have that. Rising 9th grade. They did a fantastic job this year, I think, at one of their curriculum nights and parent nights. From what I'm told, it was an overwhelmingly successful. We just hope to, Mr. Mann, pick up and go with that next year. But here's another thing. Is something as simple as an equips class, and some of you may not know what that is, but it's basically a study hall. And years and years and years ago, I don't know how far back, but parents, they heard from parents and said, hey, they need a break in their day. So this equips class was an option for that. And what we found is that it's something as simple as dropping that class and replacing it with the strength and conditioning is all it took, because equips, they did not get any credit for that. So we found other times in the day that they could have that brain break. Sometimes it comes with a study period after lunch, but a whole period in the day for equips, just by dropping that, they were able to put this other course in. That's the kind of thing we can communicate with parents about. The freshman and sophomore class, this is where I feel like we have done a great job by looking at different options of how do we get those state requirements in. Career Prep A, help, driver's ed. Obviously, summer school's been around forever, and some parents take us up on that, okay? And I'm talking about the non-athlete parents. But they're like, I don't want you to do that, but you're just going to get that out of the way. Plus, you're going to turn 16 in September. I want that deduction on my insurance. So summer is the best time for those types of students, but that's always an option. But this next school year, we were able to look at opportunities to pair with their lunch period, where they can get a semester, one of these semester classes like health or Career Prep A, paired with that in the middle of the day. And that's been a great option. And then obviously counselor education. We're gonna have some curriculum nights next year. COVID kind of, I think it did get us off the rail as to how much community we had coming into our campus to have these conversations. But next year, we're back fully loaded, we're going. And so we'll have, offer some opportunities for parents to come in to get some of these curriculum education and talk about 4-year plans and talk about all the various options that a lot of people don't really know about until a counselor picks up the phone with the kid and officer says, hey, I can do this. Mom, are you okay with that? Absolutely. So we hope to do that moving forward.
So the freshman and sophomore option, that's been the best thing I've seen come out of this, that you can take health, because if you aren't familiar with class size and sophomore, you have to choose between your foreign language and your health, Career Prep A, driver's ed, right? I would like to see us advertise that. I would like to see us get that out this week to our parents so that they know it's an option, because many parents don't know that that's an option.
Which option are you talking about?
That you can take health and career prep as part of your study, period.
Okay.
Because there's many parents that don't know that between your current sophomores who had to already give up health and your rising sophomores who are trying to figure out how to put all these classes in one. But it's important that a parent knows that that's an option. So if we can get
What I like about that too, Jennifer, is that the way you're offering is through Access, the virtual offering, which depending on what speed a student wants to take, they can take it slow through a semester, they can move it fast through a couple of weeks. It's kind of working at their pace through the semester to do it, which I think adds even more flexibility to the whole picture. So it's a really good option. I agree.
Yeah, that's a fantastic, I mean, that's what we're looking for.
And a lot of the Career Prep A classes are embedded in those freshman classes now, the career tech classes. So if you take BSA or, which was ITF, all the letters, but now they're embedded. So that helps get that career prep out of the way too. If you take any of those career tech courses, we do have that career prep embedded inside of those, which helps. It's helped a lot of our upcoming sophomores this year.
And parent education is the key here, right? Because your rising eighth graders do not know how to get through the high school, right? They don't know what classes to pick. They're afraid. It's just parent education. And even your sixth going up to what are the advantages of classes that we can take that free my periods up for the high school.
Well, a big shout out to Dr. Lunsberger because she reached out to me when it came time for her eighth graders to go through their scheduling. And we had freshman campus administrators and freshman campus counselors who went over and met with every single eighth grader. And I heard nothing but positive outcome from that. So we hope to be able to, do more of that. That's all our kids. But that one-on-one scheduling, writing, I call it a handwritten prescription for what you want to do the next 4 years. And that's why that was so good. Now, I will tell you this, we've been looking at data because as you know, now that the middle schools in the world language area, 7th grade and 8th grade, so at the end of 8th grade, if you take a test, a proficiency exam, you earn 1 credit toward to a world language. Well, goodness gracious, it's so popular. Dr. Freeman, I will speak on behalf of Mr. Mann and Mr. Howard, but we really do need a world language of Spanish.
What we're seeing this year versus next year is X number of students in the freshman year taking Spanish 1 and a smaller number taking Spanish 2. The impact of that is next year, we almost double the number of Spanish 2 that are needed in freshman year and lower the Spanish 1. We have, I think, 15 sections we offer. It's something like 9 Spanish 1 and 6 Spanish 2 this year. Next year, it's 9 Spanish 2, 6 Spanish 1. So the good thing is that credit is, and it's helping, I think maybe you showed this somewhere, but it helps with keep them on track if they're on advanced academic or almost like that, they're getting those languages by the time they get to the high school campus.
And then for those students who aspire to get their syllabi literacy, or they want to go into their 3rd level, even their 4th and 5th level, what this has done is it has maximized that opportunity so that they're not having to give up after year 2. And just, I can't fit in my schedule. Now we've opened up the door. Yes, you can fit it in your schedule, and we've seen it happen. And we did an audit, I think it's on one of the slides. We audited some 4-year plans, and we were able to look at some schedules of sophomores and juniors next year who are taking their 3rd or their 4th level of a world language, which is really good for our world language department and for those students. We also, that's where we were. Okay, AP courses, honors courses, our dual enrollment classes. What we're seeing is that by the time, with all these things in place, by the time students get to their senior year, I'm not kidding when I tell you that some of these kids only need 3 and 4 classes total to finish. That speaks volumes.
May I ask you to go back one slide just for time just to speak to some at the bottom, the maximizing credit options. We talked about the world language start middle school. Of course, we know math gets that as well. But the PE and the CTE, y'all spoke a little bit to the career prep being embedded. Maybe just talk about what options exist for the PE credit for 9 through 12, the waivers that we have in place, and then where are those classes where you maximize taking the required career prep course at 9th grade campus and 10th grade, your health sciences. So.
Yes, so you can take the PE course in dance, PE, band. Our theater teacher is working to get it embedded in some of the theater classes, trying to, I don't know, that's That's a big stretch, but she is trying. We're working on, you can take different courses in PE. We do have beginning kinesiology at the high school. We only offer 2 sections of PE though, because we don't, so many of them have already gotten their credit. So
Because your sport is your credit.
it's, yes, any varsity sport. So there's not a need to take anything else once you have it in your freshman year, which majority of our kids take PE in their freshman year. If they're not an athlete, they take it as their course, or they take dance or something else. So most of our kids take care of that. The only ones that typically don't have it are your higher level math kids who choose to take more academic courses versus going ahead and knocking out that PE in their freshman year. But I think with Ms. Brown at the freshman campus, she has encouraged all of them to take a PE, to go ahead and knock that credit out. And then as far as the waiver courses, we have ITF, intro to drafting, event planning, personal finance, marketing. Those are the ones at the high school. We have sports marketing, personal finance, foundations of health science, and drafting and accounting. Yeah, and accounting. So there's lots of ways to get the career prep embedded, and we also still offer the course at the high school as well. We are going to offer that with the lunch and the access as well next year to kind of limit the number of kids who need to take that course, but hopefully we can.
Yeah, and a great thing about health science, this is the one that's really a nice one. You think strategically, you can get a health credit and the career prep credit. So you get
And a
a one.
CT credit.
And a CT.
And CT, well, if you want to do the CT, that's right.
Correct.
So,
That's a sophomore.
It
right.
starts at sophomore.
It starts at sophomore.
But like, are you about to say something?
No.
Okay, well, what we've seen this year with our rising sophomores is that they are coming in, and I like the language you used, the you pick threes.
Yes, the you pick threes. I said in over 20 years of doing this, the rising 10th graders have more of their credits already taken than I've ever seen. And I think a lot of that is a lot of that individual counseling on the 8th and 9th grade level. But they're coming here, and I've been meeting with hundreds of students, and they already have every single thing that's required. So then when we're building the 4-year plan, it's on what they want to take. You know, do you want to go 3 to 4 years of language? But it's not, we're not having the problem of getting in what's required because they've already gotten that.
You can't teach health at the freshman campus, right? And then there's
Teach what?
Health.
We could teach health.
it's pairing.
It's paired with driver's ed, which is.
I mean, I like it embedded as a study period.
Right, and I think that the reason that health is typically been is because it's a half credit class, so it's typically paired with driver's ed, which is why we teach it in 10th grade.
Well, and the other thing too, that I wanted to comment on that last bullet point, because of the offerings at the freshman campus, when they come to the main campus, they can stay on that career tech pathway. And that, a lot of kids really like that, because that's what they know. They know they're not going to play sports in college, but they want to be an engineer, or they want to draft, or they want to go into a health field. So this, by what we've done in the past 2 years in the 9th grade, has just opened the door for 10th grade, 11th, and 12th grade to stay on that CTE pathway. And that's awesome. Those classes are booming. If I could beg, I'd love another one of those type of teachers, because we're moving around people and there are a lot of different moving parts, but that is a really growing, the numbers in those courses are really growing.
Well, that's an important part, right? If we're going to start limiting schedules with strength and conditioning, we have to have the spots for our kids to take the classes, right? So if I have 3 classes that's made the career prep A, we have to be able to get our kids in them. So.
And then, career prep B, which is one of those state graduation programs, is embedded in 12th grade economics. So with that, we've written a waiver for that for years, and that still is in place too. So there's not an extra semester class thing. And then we went over this I think earlier, a little bit, and I went backwards. But moving forward for the next school year, there will be multiple opportunities for students to pair their lunch with a required course. Obviously, we do have summer school. If they choose that option, there's the access course, if they would like to do it that way, depending on how a lot of students would rather take it that way. And that we've been able to offer that for students as well. So there's really probably 4 different ways students can get these classes.
We've also pulled a list of all the students who are athletes that requested Spanish 2 to see how many of those athletes might be interested in a 0 period option for Spanish 2 to see if that would help or hurt. We're not sure. So far, there hasn't been a huge amount of interest, but we're polling all of those students at this moment to try to figure out if that's something we could offer as well as a 0 period Spanish 2 option.
That's another one, I just caution you. A 15-year-old kid may have a different answer than mom and dad.
Yeah, I think we usually put out,
My kid be like.
I think we usually put out the available options
Right.
for, because really, with health, there's really not an impact on staffing with the model you're talking about at lunch, because it's an access course. We're not thinking about that as much as just enrolling them. Really easy option to look at. Spanish, we can place someone in if there's a need, but I think that's an easy.
I mean, understanding options are what brings your parents' level of anxiety down, right?
Well, and
I
so-
can change, I can move my schedule, and my kid can still academically get it.
So this is our plan to communicate this, and Dr. England and I talked about this. Right now that counselor one-on-one conversations have taken place, after spring break, when it's time for course verification goes out, we will attach to that various options. And if the student wants to explore that option, the parents as well, all they have to do is contact the counselor, and there you go. So that will be mass communication, because every parent has to sign off on the course verification. So that is where we're gonna communicate all these various options, and that will be coming up.
The week after spring break.
And they can still make change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, that's the, with
And
the
no
free.
free change, no fee.
Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We talked about strength and conditioning. So what we're really talking about is for these 8 sports that were on this, whichever slide, 3 or 4 slides back. These student athletes will have a strength and conditioning class, and then they will also have what at least we used to refer to as an athletics class, where they will meet with their team. The strength and conditioning class will not be a team activity. It won't be film or practice or anything like that. It is strength and conditioning, right?
It will be a strength and conditioning class, and here's the thing, I actually sent text, and strength and conditioning has, I'm gonna read some of the ones from the coaches. There's, in my opinion, there are several things involved in a strength and conditioning class. It's more than just lifting a weight. You got agilities, you've got yoga, you've got stretching, you've got all, and that is kind of the exact what everybody, because I asked them, I said, okay, just to be clear, I'm going into a board meeting, tell me what you're doing in season and out of season. Obviously, out of season, they're 10 times busier in the weight room. They're gonna lift probably at least 1 more day a week. It's gonna be just grind. In season, it's gonna be maintenance, speed and agility, things in that component. But like, I'll give you an example, out of season, Coach Melser, weight room, speed, agility, conditioning. In season, weight room, shooting, setup, individual skill work. So everything, and again, it can get real, as a former coach, and I shared this with Ms. Weaver the other day, is my perspective as a former coach may differ sometimes from somebody else's, but in my mind, the strength and conditioning is the biggest component for the success of it. Now, the film, I think, is important. Now my question to the coaches is, okay, if you're in season, especially in football, you're lifting 2 days a week in season. The rest of the time you're doing agility, speed, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's say we are caught up. We have 3 full days, we're caught up, and there's 1 day left. We may have to turn it into some kind of a study situation. Or, that's where we could get ahead if they were able to do their film. They all have huddle accounts anyway. If you have children that are, in the program, y'all understand what that is. So to answer your question, strength and conditioning will be strength and conditioning. How will we make sure that happens? We're just gonna tell them, and if they don't do it, it's not gonna be good.
Well, and the point behind that is if there is, and I know we're all working very hard to ensure that there's not a academic conflict. Like if there's a student that wanted to take AP Physics and it's only in the first period, that student would have the opportunity to do conditioning and weightlifting before school, after school, at some other time to allow them to pursue that academic goal.
And they all, will be told that.
And we did that this year.
Right.
So this was like a groundbreaking year, but unless they just didn't pick up the phone and call me. But I did not get feedback that students who had to take an academic class and could not take one of the strength felt like they were not prepared or they did not have an equal opportunity. Because our coaches found ways to get that workout in and found ways to meet with those players. And a lot of that, I give credit to Huddle, the technology. They can be at home, 2 separate locations, and the coaches can communicate about anything that might have been covered that day. Maybe they were out sick, and we did have some kids out sick, but they were able to still communicate about Huddle and about, I credit that as to why we did not get negative feedback, that our kids did not feel like they were game ready.
Well, I want to give y'all an example that happened just today. We had a parent, that teaches in our system whose child is in football. I'm not going to say what grade level, but the grades of the child had gone down. So as a parent, they were pulling that child off of the team. But our head football coach and our future defense coordinator, instead of going nuts about it, they get in the vehicle, they drive over, they meet with that parent. Well, guess what? They convinced this parent, come and work out, okay? But allow us to help. Allow us to help with the problems you have. So these are the kind of people, and I can say that about every coach on our staff. So the academics is incredibly important. We're not going away from that in any way whatsoever. So just, I don't want there to be anybody concerned about that because it is very understood on our staff, always has been in the history of this system. We're not going to do anything to go away from academics, but we are trying to raise things up tremendously athletically, and we have to in order to keep up.
There's a follow-up question. We're adding this additional strength and conditioning class. And I note the slide before that, we talked about the need for off-season conditioning, which obviously is true. And needing the in-season conditioning, I think, is a good safety measure as well. But why and I think I've had people come ask me and talk about this, and why do we need 2 classes? And what do you tell parents when they say, we agree that off-season conditioning is important. Why is 7th period athletics in the off-season not sufficient to take care of that conditioning need?
It's time. I think the time component is huge. I think you stress the child's body. I think if I start early in the morning, it is proven you have 7 to 8 hours, body recovers, you're fresh. So.
But I'm talking about off-season, because here we were talking about the need for off-season conditioning. If you have a period and you're getting into 8th period and even after school conditioning, why do you need 2 periods in the off-season to take care of that strength and conditioning?
Well, I will tell you this. If they don't need it, and a parent can articulate to me why it needs to be just 1 period, in other words, because they want to fit something, we'll change that schedule. That may not answer your question, but in the off season, if they want to pull their student out of that strength and conditioning class and just have 8th period athletics on their schedule, we can do that. What were you gonna say, Dr.?
Are you asking why the need for 2 periods in the off season?
Correct. So
Okay.
we're going to have a first period and a 7th period, and then also an athletics period in 8th period. Why is 8th period not sufficient to take care of any off-season conditioning needs?
That's a great question, Myra.
Well, I just think you need both for a lot of reasons because I think that's how your team builds. And again, I'm talking from a coach's perspective. Sure. And I think it's highly valuable that in the off season, they're still spending time with those same people. Now, like she said earlier, we have kids that do multiple sports and it keeps us from having to change schedules out. But at the same time, if they need to go a day or two to somewhere to get their class or do some class work, they're gonna do that. But I'm just a huge proponent of keeping both of those, and I think I would be shocked if we had more than 10 male and female athletes that would want to do anything other than the two. So,
Well, it's also cyclical. So in other words, our kids who are juniors right now that are in one of those morning strength and conditioning classes, the coaches are taking advantage of having them in the weight room 5 days a week, alternating which muscles are being worked on. Then when they get them again at the end of the 8th period, guess what they're working on? Spring installs for the future football season. So, and that goes with every sport, whether they're in season or out. I mean, it is not the entire semester. I mean, you may have 6 weeks of this, then you move on to 4 or 5 weeks of this, but they're taking advantage of the fact that they have their players in front of them for those times of the day, working on specific things that will grow their program, but grow the kids. I just use football, that's the one I know the most.
and it's just a confidence builder too, for exactly what she said.
Let me ask you another question, and this is again, giving any parents who have concerns about kids coming in, particularly for your first period, and they're gonna be working hard, really pushing themselves, exhausted by the end of first period. I assume the coaches are all committed to working with those students if, hey, I've got a huge test second period. Can I do my conditioning later in the day or next day, whatever, so that I don't go into that second period exam completely exhausted?
Well, I think every coach is gonna be flexible, but the kid has to communicate that with the coach.
Responsibility is both ways.
Absolutely. The kid, and to me, it is more important for a coach to hear that from a player instead of a parent. Because that coach spends more time with that child, honestly, than the parent does a lot of times. So they know. But if that child will communicate that, they're gonna be taken care of. I mean, they're gonna be flexible. I mean, so.
And this only works, and it works its best when the players and the families trust the coach and vice versa, right? We get a lot of calls, we are not the coaches, right? And I understand we're here for that and we're happy to, but our coaches need to start off their seasons explaining the importance of academics, the importance of working with these kids, the importance of being flexible, so that at least the kids, especially like your freshmen coming out, right, this is their first exposure to any of our coaches, really, right? They need to have that set every year. Our expectation is that you make your grades and you make them well in academics. We will work with you, but you have to talk to us, right? And so it starts with the coach, especially on the kids that we're learning. And then the kids and the parents have to extend that and let the coaches try. I don't see many instances in my experience with my kids where a coach has not come to the level and adjusted as needed. But you know, it's also important that our coaches iterate that every time they meet with parents.
I mean, obviously things change, but way back in the day, I used to think it was a limitation on us that we didn't do in-season weightlifting. That if we did it, it was right before practice and it was a rush through thing. And a lot of times I would fake it, a lot of people would fake it because we were having to go to
Now the truth comes out.
practice. Well, I mean, I'll just be honest, because it's at, 8th period, you gotta get in your workout and get your pads on, get out there, whatever. So I really like what has been put into place. One of the things I heard was the 0 period. We're not taking that option away for in season, are we? In other words, if football, the linemen wanted to meet at 7 and do walkthroughs,
What they're doing
they
is they
could
have
go
to
through
flip.
walkthroughs, but then first period, then they go work out.
Right, that's what we're doing. I
Okay.
think that's what Robert is flipping it.
Okay.
And it could be with any sport, not just football. But what they'll do is the walkthroughs and things like right now, we're fixing to get ready to go spring, they're trying to work on installs. He has nowhere to go because we have 6 soccer teams. So we're having to go to baseball when they're not there. So those are the kind of things, but that's how we're gonna do it. The strength and conditioning will start at 8:20, I believe, every day. And then the thing is, they gotta be through there, even guys, they're gonna shower, but they still have to have time to be ready and have breakfast, do whatever, and be at class. So it's just, yes, they're flipping what they traditionally would have done. But we're very flexible, our coaches are on board because we know the enormous need that we have to get this program going because we're behind.
And I'll give you the parent point. I'm the only one that has a kid in weightlifting this year. So I have a sophomore, he's taken weightlifting all year. Academics are paramount in our house, but I will tell you that my kid has put on substantial muscle weight. He will tell you, as I think Coach Davis probably would too, it has improved his athletic ability, it's improved his game. So while I was skeptical when this started, and probably been skeptical, he has convinced me that this is, right, to the point of, hey, Mom, I'll take summer school, I'll do an extra class, right? This is important to him and his athletics, and there is significant benefit that we've seen out of it. And I will tell you, it has run conditioning every minute of every period. We never have a period off unless there is a reason, like testing at school. It has been done the absolute right way, which I assume all of our coaches will, but.
So the coaches of the sports that are participating, are they the ones leading the class?
No, they'll be in there, but, I mean, we have strength coaches, and so, coaches are in there because, number one, supervision.
Safety.
I mean, it's just, if we go to more than 15 to 18, we need a coach per 15 to 20. Because we're getting ourselves in a huge liability issue if we are overloading and we don't have enough supervision in there. So are the coaches a part of that? Absolutely. Absolutely, they're a part of it. But they're not, Leslie would not lead the cheer workout. She may communicate to the strength coach, this is where we're weak, this is where we need our strength the most. They'll design the program to fit that kid. Whether, if they're a base, they would be different than a flyer. Their workouts would be different. So it gets that technical.
I want to ask two questions. One, to that point, and then I want to ask one to segue you into facilities. The first one is, what are we doing next year in terms of making sure we've got the safety, oversight, commitment to the athletics from middle school through high school, the strength conditioning position, making sure that both of our middle schools are have the program in place, our freshman campus does, et cetera. So that's the first question.
Okay.
And the second question is, if you've got a vision for what you want to see at the high school, if you had the facility to do it, what it would look like. So,
This is a moment.
Middle school, I think, Miss Alicia over there, she could help to, she is really struggling, and we finally have her some help over there for 8th period. And
Really struggling.
It's hard, she hasn't, but she's overplaying, but obviously this is a lot bigger than Liberty Park. Liberty Park's in good shape. I mean, they've got the equipment, they've got the staff, they've got it rolling, they're in good shape. Pizzitz has so many numbers, it became an issue in 8th period because the rising 9th graders, once their football season was over, they weren't doing a whole lot if they were not in another sport. So now we've got, I know 3 days a week, Coach Welburn is going to be going over and he's lifting them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We already have a plan in place for next year as well, which will come down the road. But I think I think our middle schools, and I've been and seen a lot of middle schools across the state and the southeast, and we are fixing to be primed to be the very best.
it'd be a person specific to
Yes,
the needs at Pizzitz campus, at
Yes.
the freshman
Yes.
campus, and then some, whatever needs to rise in high school. So it would be a shared position to
yes.
fill those gaps we've got.
And of course, next year we're doing the 5-6 at the freshman campus.
Right.
Strength training for the
That's
guys, 7th period for the girls, which they are ecstatic about because it's never been done. And the reason we had to do the girls last again is because we have no showers. And we're gonna have to work out a deal, where whoever their 8th period teacher is, we're gonna have them to dress modestly, but to be able to go to class and work out clothes. So, but anyway, that's the next conversation.
Vision facilities for us.
Okay, so
What would you do with
first-
the schedule?
First, let me,
Me go back or?
Well, I just kind of got to segue you into
Okay.
that.
I know, real quick, I'm sorry. Small question. The freshmen, 4 out of 5, Steve's not included in this. 4 out of 5, we have freshmen coming. Just real quick, there will be there's currently 7 periods, 8 periods, freshmen. Okay, so there will be an added athletics period or there's an 8th period athletics on freshman campus.
Yeah,
Right now?
there already is.
Okay. Will there be an added weightlifting period on the freshman campus?
No, no, no,
Not
It's not-
not required.
one period.
Just one period.
Just-
They won't have athletics 8th period at the freshman campus next year. It'll be 5th and 6th for boys and 7th for
Okay,
girls.
so it's 2 periods, 5th and 6th. Right now it's.
No, it's just 5th or 6th. Because
Oh,
there's not many of them to have them all at one
That's
time.
why I asked the
They
question.
just give one
Were y'all,
Our numbers are
were you
just,
crystal clear on
And
that?
it'll be called beginning kinesiology.
Sorry.
Okay, y'all can move on, I apologize.
okay, so first let me start this, I think, to the board, because I'm sure y'all got phone calls about it again. I was late to the game, so I'm just trying to make sure we're getting everything done. Big fundraiser last year, Coach Calhoun was here, and I'm just gonna tell you, he did a lot for the program. I think because of what he did for the program is one of the biggest reasons that we were able to hire Robert. Had a lot of things not been done by Coach Calhoun, there's no doubt in my mind we could have never taught Robert Evanson to take the job if we had not had the facility upgrades that he was able to do. There was a fundraiser that was put in place, and there were a lot of questions about where the money went and all that. I couldn't answer that, to be quite honest. So what we did, because we wanted to be crystal clear and transparent, is we dug into it. We got with Mickey Ravel, who was the last year's ops person. We dug in, we found it. Coach Evans sent an email out to all the parents, line item of every single penny, where it went, what it did. It's all accounted for. So I wanted y'all to know that up front. And I understand how there was questions, people wanted to know. But the graphics that have been done, the trailer that has been purchased, the equipment, the uniforms, we're just now beginning to catch up a little bit. We're still behind. Now, we're in the middle of a major fundraiser. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. We're in a major fundraising campaign, because we just have the needs. Okay, this is something that when Robert came in, he and I talked, and if you have children that play on the football team, he jumped out there, and I was in the meeting after I introduced him. He said, me and Miss Myers getting out here, we're raising $1 million. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're about halfway there. I spent a lot of time talking to different people at the university level to try to find out what's the best way to raise funding at this time. I didn't want to burden the board with that because, I told Dr. Freeman, I'm gonna have to come back to y'all at some point and ask you for something. So, I talked with Bo Kerr, who has a child in this system. He is athletic director, does the fundraising for Sanford. I talked with a lot of my friends at UT. I talked with my friends at the University of North Alabama. And a lot of them kept saying, well, how have you gotten the word out to everybody? And I said, it's funny you ask because I've had a lot of people contact me and say, hey, I want to help, but I don't know who. So Bo made a suggestion, why don't you take an ad out and put it in the paper and tell people what you're doing, okay? So we're doing that. And I think it goes into over 17,000 homes. So I feel very confident that that's going to be a positive for us. We are in the middle of that money, that funding, and Dr. Martin has been so helpful to me on the bids and the contracts and those kind of things are his forte. We're doing a build out in the area. If you've been at the stadium, it was actually, I call it the jump room. It was two big old rooms for track stuff from the last, looks like 30 years, and football stuff from the last 30 years have just been piled up in there. The goal is to get that moved out. It's going to be moved down to where the hitting facility is. It's actually, I found out that it was made, one side of that brick building was actually made for track football store. So I don't know how it all ended up. Well, I guess because it was easier to get it to the track. But that is ongoing. What we're going to do is there's a lot of equipment that if our middle schools cannot utilize it, we're going to go through the Birmingham Athletic Partnership and donate it to them. Tony Pugh, former coach, friend of mine, he's over that. So we're in the process of that to try to see if anybody needs that. But that's going to be a very, very good thing. The biggest thing, and I didn't realize this, we have no meeting space, none. And they were spending probably anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes every day going to watch them have meetings and do whatever, walking up to the high school and back. We're getting very, very needed meeting spaces, coaches' offices, the nutrition center, which is very, very needed. That's where we're going. The Jumbotron, that's something that we're really excited about. If we can ever decide how we're going to do it.
And the technology space too, that Coach Evans
Oh, yeah.
talked about with the social media
Yes.
presence.
He's gonna do the technology in that. But we're also expanding down in the area where my office is. And we're gonna have kind of a production room in there, because my goal, and I know Ms. Roselle's goes, we're trying to move everything in-house. I wanna quit paying all these people. If we have people that can do quality graphics, I wanna put our teams to quit paying people $3,500 to $5,500. And we do that, pay these people a little money in-house, take care of our people. So we're in the process of that. But as he talks about technology, as you well know, we've just come up with an app, which is really, really good. If you haven't got it, you need to download it. It's a lot of information. Our website is phenomenal. And I don't know if you know anything about the website. If you've seen it, you need to go cruise through it, because it's state of the art. It's not complete yet. We're just to the point, in middle schools, we're getting somebody hopefully designated to do all the content, to pour all that in. But we're on a collegiate level. It's a collegiate site. Do we have to spend a little more money? Yes, but it's worth it, because, we want to be the best. And
I was gonna just say, this falls under an emphasis area that came out of strategic planning, how we collaborate, how we market. And I didn't even put that on the slide, but all of the things that she's talking about the app, things like that all goes under that emphasis area in our athletic strategic plan.
And we're going to, in football, broadcasting, and anybody that wanted to, I just got daggone frustrated with the NFHS on our broadcast. It just spin, it won't do now. So we talked to NFHS, we're not in a contract. We are using them in every other sport. We're not doing away with that. In my understanding, Vestavia was kind of a starting school. I mean, like way several years ago.
Yes.
And so we have Scott Griffin. I don't know if y'all are aware of who Scott Griffin is. He's a phenomenal guy. He used to be a news anchor. He and his team are going to come in. And it's going to be an unbelievable broadcast. Chad Pilcher, which Allie Pilcher's husband. Chad did a lot of play-by-play or some color for us when I was at Hoover. He's fantastic. He's worked with ESPN. So we're going to have a state-of-the-art broadcast. It's going to be on YouTube. It'll be live on Facebook. It'll be all over the place.
Are the kids gonna stay there?
Yeah, they're going to be in part with Scott. They're going to be working with him.
You mentioned the Jumbotron. Can you maybe provide us a little more detail on
Yes.
how that benefits the program?
Yes. Well, first of all, football is footing the bill for the Jumbotron. They wanted to, which that's great. Here's the way they're looking at it. It is a tremendous continual revenue source for them. The biggest thing is selling the anchor sponsorships, which we're over halfway through there. That's a $25,000 commitment per year for 3 years. So we have 8 spots on the board where those will be. Where the other sports are going to enjoy, they can buy ad space. They can sell ads to different people. They can do, get somebody to buy commercials, whatever, say for soccer, big track meets, whatever we do. We can have family nights out at the stadium and show movies on we have a huge, huge vision for how we can utilize that Jumbotron. We actually have the opportunity. Daktronics now has come out with a curriculum that they want to put in the middle schools and freshman campuses, and teaching kids as an elective how to run this board, which that's going to be right up their alley. So that all we're doing is enhancing our future to never run out of people to run that big thing. But what I think we're going to do is once we get the kids involved in this, you're going to see it take off, even in a way that, all I know is a big old Jumbotron, when you have it, it is very beneficial. Kids get involved, it's even better. They take ownership in it. But the other sports, again, they can utilize it in any way they want. What we're going to be asking, because football is footing the entire bill for the purchase of it, is they're going to pay a flat fee off of their ad to put toward it, which to me, that's what you call skin in the game, and I think that's fair. So, but I'm excited about that.
But it really does become a recurring revenue source.
Yes.
I mean, your experience, I assume, is that people are more willing to pay for a large ad on a Jumbotron than they are for a sign on the fence running around the track.
Right, and we're still selling those too.
Sure.
The thing about the Jumbotron is, after we get through this first year, we're gonna be telling people no a lot. And not because we're trying, we're gonna be saying, well, we're glad to take the check, we're gonna have to put it somewhere else. Because you can only run so many commercial spots on that board during game. So, but senior night now, we can put kids' pictures up on there, like we're already planning right now to do. We're changing how we've done the media guide here in the past. We're doing individual, our guys are gonna be wearing suit and ties. That's what we're putting up on the board. Senior night for band, we'll have every kid up there, you know, track, soccer. So that's gonna make a lot of people happy.
So,
Will the Jumbotron, if not, that's fine, but for years and years and years, the speaker system.
We'll be the top of the line speaker system.
Thank you.
And it's gonna be for, in the Jumbotron where it says VH, or the VH is, that's the big, that, Dr. Rivers didn't have a whole lot of requests, but he did request a good speakers. Good saying.
Thank you.
It's not on top of your ears.
Yeah. Somebody act, well, I'm not gonna say that.
Do you want to cover this?
Well, I'm hearing some more about the funding external support.
We're past our 20 minutes.
You're okay. Once they're asking questions.
Okay.
There you go.
Booster clubs, we now are going to individual booster clubs, and basically that's what they're doing anyway. They've always done that. There's just never been any bylaws, which was kind of scary to me. So football has already finished theirs. They had their first meeting with their group of parents last night. They're so excited. It's very streamlined. I gave them 2 examples to go by. And both are very good. The funny thing is, I think Bridget was a part of the ones that I shared with her when she was at Hoover. So it was funny, but it's a very good, they're not, it's just defining people's roles, defining everything about that program, the accountability. Everything, obviously, all the monies flow into the school. I think I may have 1 or 2 sports that I'm just now finding out about. There are some outside accounts, so I'm shoring all that up, and that's going to be moved inside. It's just, that's the only way to do it. I mean, so nobody's going to take that opportunity to buy for those children, and whatever sport has an outside account, you still do it, but let's put it in a non-public fund. And let's go do it that way. That way we're all doing everything. Nike BSN contract, we've talked about that. That's a great.
District clubs, where's the accountability, right? So district clubs have their sort of own structure, but they can't just go and buy what they want to do. So
For example, in the footballs, if there's 2 people on the footballs, and the president, let's take the president, for example. He can make a request. Of course, that communication is with that head coach, okay? How we've got it lined up is that president of the booster club would send an email to our new director of operations, Michael Brown. He does the legwork. He comes in, sits down with Ms. Greer. They sit down, fill out the requisition form, the PO. It comes to me. If it's something that I question or that I don't know about ahead of time, I pick up the phone, I call Robert. Robert, are you aware of this? Yes, funds there. That's the process we're using. Nobody can just walk in and tell Lisa Greer.
So basically you have the final
Yes.
oversight of.
Yes, and then she signs, after I sign off on the PO, she has to do all that too.
So y'all aren't walking out on the field or a track, a court, and seeing something brand new you've never seen before. You don't know where that
I'm
comes
just
from.
telling you right now.
No,
It's gotta pass
everything is, it's not, it's gotta go past me, and I'm probably harder than sometimes I need to be, but it's just, you have to, it's just the accountability thing, so it's fine.
And that's every single sport.
Yes.
Yeah, so each sport now with their own booster club, they have guidelines for bylaws that they have to meet now, right?
Well, it's gonna be the bylaws will be set in place, and football is the only one that has theirs finished.
Right.
They're fixing to get going. Everybody else will be doing theirs toward the end of the year. We're trying to get it all in place for next year.
And that's approval,
Yeah.
y'all are approving the bylaws?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I've sent Dr. Freeman to put his.
I do think one of the things that's important, because in my individual conversations with some board members is in those bylaws, it does create that in this requisition process creates the accountability on the financial side, which then makes transparency to parents pretty
Yes.
easy to publish for
Absolutely.
coaches. That's something that we want to see in all of the programs, that here's an
That's
accounting
something
of
we
the
don't
dollars
do well.
that are coming in.
We don't tell the parents who pay the money where their money goes.
Well, and that's why we cleaned it up from the last time, and we're moving forward, and that's the reason I say we work off of a zero budget. And, people don't really understand that until I say, well, basically what you do as head coach, you sit down and you write, you budget everything out that you need for your year, then you get with your booster club, this is what I need, this is what my budget's gonna be. That's the amount of money we raise, we get in, so, but yeah, it's a whole lot of accountability.
I've heard Myra say this several times about zero budget, which I think is appropriate and right, is that the money that boosters are raising this year should be for the program. We're not a savings account.
Absolutely.
I have a problem with if we have, let's say soccer goes out and raises $45,000 and they spend 12. Well, my question is gonna be to that side, if it's this group, I was like, well, what you gonna do now? This, we're gonna spend all this, as long as the public account's in good shape. But, yeah, I want it spent on the kids that raise it.
Yeah, how do the smaller sports, right? I mean, football's got 300 people, right? And I got golf.
Signs, sponsorships, actually, I got a call about a sponsorship, the new football league, USFL, is coming in town, they've called, and there's 40-something games, and they wanna know if we have any groups that can send us 7 or 8 people to work concessions or sell merchandise, they'll give us $400 a game, so you know what? That would probably, I'm gonna offer it to my non-revenue sports first,
Okay,
so that way, that's just a.
and this is all separate from the fees you pay to pay, or the pay to play, right? Like if baseball or basketball charges $300 per parent to play, right? That is separate out of the booster club. That goes directly into the school account, or is it all into the booster club?
Well, if it's a booster club, I don't think that football, during all their bylaws, I have to look back, I don't think they did a fee.
No, football doesn't have a fee, right? But most of our schools do. So does that go directly to the school and it's accounted for differently?
It would go, yeah.
Or is it
Into
through
the
the
school,
booster?
yeah, yeah,
It's a non-public account.
Yeah. just go into that non-public.
So I would assume it has the same level of approval. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Multi-sport athletes, you got a football player that's also in track, is that 2 booster clubs?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say, a lot of people say, well, that'll be easy, we'll combine girls and boys basketball. No, they do different things.
Right.
So, girls and boys soccer, different things. Your golf, your swim and dive, probably we could combine in one. So that's just, I'm leaving that up to the coaches. And, again, we can make this as complicated as we want to, or it can be very, very easy, so that's what I hope everybody does. Football did a really good job of pairing theirs now and getting it right.
Hey, Jennifer, Bridget always explained to us when soccer, and we had a very nominal fee, but out of that account, she had to pay for referees, any travel. So we went to 2 or 3 tournaments a year. It was our entrance fee into those tournaments. So
That's how Patrick Davis does it.
she always priced it out for us and showed us exactly how she was spending that money. So
But all coaches should be required.
I would assume,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna
And
give
they
you this,
will,
you should tell
they
them.
will, because again, the first they heard it was zero budget. They thought I lost my mind. What are you talking about? I was like, well, it's the only thing I need. It's the only place I can work.
That's awesome.
Do you have a vision, I don't know what the right way to do it is, but do you have a vision of where we would be able to offer these sports and not have a fee to play, where if you make the team, or is that just something that's always gonna happen? Like, do we think that the booster clubs are gonna be able to raise enough money so that it's not
But I think
everybody has to
we,
pay whatever the.
but I think we have to enhance our facilities and our things within our school system to make it easier for us to do that. Because I promise you, once we start doing all of these things, you're gonna see it catch on fire. It might be another 2 years, but it will.
I think what I really appreciate about the approach here with the boosters and the financial accounting piece is that those who are stroking big checks, and y'all are up here, and several of you are doing that, is the first step, at least we know where the money is going. And based on zero budgeting, it may help impact some of those if we're not planning for something capitalized or whatever that they don't need to be focusing on, trying to save for. But I feel like that helps to some extent, but I think we'd all like to see the fees be lower. But I think I hear you generally say the whole system, what you're trying to do, the goal is to try to do that.
Yes.
But,
Well, until I wanted to say, let me back up, because I don't know if I said this. in this fundraising campaign that we're fixing, that we're right in the middle of. This is not just about football. There are things that I want to do for basketball and volleyball that are needed bad, as far as the gym floors and things like that. That is where this is not just about that one sport. This is solely to, again, enhance our facilities. It's just an opportunity to step out there and be great, you know, so.
So that, we covered that. And covered the continuity of programming. That was your middle school question. And that was it. That was more 20 minutes.
Hey, I do want to comment on this. One thing I've seen is I've put 3 kids through the middle school and high school play sports. Now more than ever, our high school coaches and our athletic director are at our middle school level. When my daughter started, there was never a coach, there was nothing at the middle school level. But it is important to those kids to see Coach Evans, Coach Davis, Coach Schmelzer at the middle school, to see you at the middle school. It's important. It's what engages the kids. It's what keeps them in it, and that's important. That's been a fantastic improvement in the last 3-4 years.
All right, go team.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
I appreciate the work on this, and it's been a really good year to see a lot of progress. I do, board members, want to tell you, in April, I'll bring to you a report on the arts. Something equally important to us is the vibrancy of our arts program, so I'll be sharing with you some updates about that, and we're getting into the next year. All right, one last thing I'd like to address just quickly with you is a follow-up to a meeting 2 months ago when I presented to you information relative to population growth in the schools, what would happen if a potential development in Liberty Park were to take place. And so we did that in January, and I won't follow up because the city council did approve the development of the Bray in Liberty Park. They approved that last week. So just some notes to remind everyone about as we have looked at this and our long-range needs. Part of the work the city did in negotiating the deal with the Bray included a campus for a new school. Now, while the development doesn't say what kind of school it is, the intent is it's a new elementary school because of the numbers that are produced there. We think will justify that at some point. And we actually think it would have justified it at some point with the entitlements that existed before the Bray. However, this could accelerate the time in which a new elementary school would come online. So there are about 15 acres that have been set aside near the front of the development. You can't see it from the parkway, but near the front of the entire new development that would be a site for a new elementary school at whatever time it became available. The Bray and all of its covenants for development would result in approximately 1,000 new students. And just to keep that in context, that sounds like a big number, and it is, but spread out over 13 grades is about 77 students per grade. And I mentioned to you why that's an important conversation for us is that's an impact of a little over 200 students at the high school when it's totally built out. It's at middle school at Liberty Park, and then, of course, elementary grades. So we have the capacity at the high school. That's why we have said there is not a new high school as a result of this taking place. A number of reasons, but population being the main one. We do not need a new freshman campus because we house 1,200 students over there. And if we can't fit 77 more in over there, then we have a problem. So the middle school at Liberty Park would likely require a little bit of classroom addition. We are thinking about that long term. And of course, I mentioned elementary school. That would be, we would exceed capacity in K-5 there. So just a reminder about that piece of it. It would be premature today to say that the board should take on a zoning question, but it's going to have to happen. We're going to have to look at that as a board about when a new elementary school does come online, it will create a zoning question, and we don't want to wait until the last minute, of course, to do that. That's a piece of a conversation we now can have because the development has been approved, but I would think in the coming years, that's something that we prepare ourselves for as that builds. The other thing in question is revenue, and there are a lot of numbers that float around about development and their potential revenue for us. But we largely would gain revenue from any capital ad valorem tax that occurs off of that development, which could be commercial, could be hotel, could be multifamily, could be single family. So we'll gain additional ad valorem revenues throughout the build of that project. For the most part, those revenues should sustain the operations of the school. We'll have to add teachers and all the programs that come along with that to take care of the needs. There'll come a time when there is a new school necessary, and depending on how fast the development grows, therein lies the question for this board. We have not had to plan for a new elementary school, and it's not in our capital plan, but we'll be preparing for that, knowing that that is a potential. But the city has committed that they would stand in the gap for the board if there were a need based on the speed of that property to put an elementary school in place, that they would support the board, and I'm confident that they will. And of course, on our side, all of our capital plans and revenues that we get that go into our general fund to operate all of our system, we'll be mindful of the growth of ad valorem and any taxes we get off of the break, and we'll be financially responsible. We'll take care of what our capital needs are, and when we're able to set aside any additional dollars, then we're able to do that. So there are a lot of factors that impact a budget each year, but we are certainly aware of being mindful of what potential impacts ad valorems have. So we'll be very conscious to keep our council apprised of what we do with our budget and what the break does in terms of impacting it. So I'll be happy to answer any questions on that, but I did want to follow back up to that piece.
Sure. Dr. Freeman, going back to, I think, our August meeting, this is separate and apart to what our priority going into the school year and our 5-year plan on facility needs.
It really is. And we haven't had it in the capital plan, still don't, but we'll be mindful of it obviously now. But we do have a larger vision that you heard a little bit about today. We have some complexities with scheduling that are complicated because of our facility space at the high school. We have some other things that we're looking at across the district that includes energy management, just a comprehensive plan that I look forward to sharing with you in the fall when we get to the budget season, what that looks like, separate and apart from a new elementary school. Some real exciting things ahead. That's all.
I think any zoning discussions need to be at least July. And Jay doesn't say it, but due to his lack of preparedness, his senior year of Vestavia was 2-8.
Champs in all sports.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for your patience. Thank you for the reports and all the good work. As always, I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for all you do for the kids. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Myra.